Let's look at resizing the size of our layer, flipping the layer vertically or horizontally, making duplications of a layer, changing the opacity of a layer, and inverting the colors using an adjustment layer. I'm going to find my line work layers, and this is one of them, and this is another. Open up all of your files. To find all your files, you can go to Window, and you have all of them here. If you press the letter F, as in Frank, you can switch between 3 modes. This mode allows me to use the spacebar or the hand tool to kind of move the image around. This is a preview mode with black everywhere, and this one has tabs, and this actually is probably what I want to use right now because I can flip through the files that I have open. So I only want this part of this layer, and I want to paste it into my, let's paste it into the gray source file. So I'm going to take the lasso tool, and I only want this part, so I can select that, and now I'm just going to edit, copy, and we're going to paste. So let's go into the gray, and I'm going to paste. And you can see how big it is in here. Now let's talk about resizing. So we're going to do an edit free transform, which is also Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC. So edit free transform, and I want to make this bigger. I'm actually blowing it up, which isn't the best, but we're just going to do it for this assignment. And that seems good for me, and now I'm going to press enter. I'm going to bring in my layers window, so window layers if it's not already there. And now I can see what I have going on. I have my gray background, and this is the dog. I'm going to switch this to multiply because you can see how it actually blends. Multiply hides any white that might be showing. So it's just a slight adjustment. Another thing that I'm going to do to darken the line, to thicken up the line, now that our line work is separated from the paper, is I'm going to press Control click or Command click on a Mac, so Control click PC, Command click Mac, and I'm selecting everywhere where there are layers on this, everywhere where there are pixels on this layer, and let's make it a little bigger. So select, modify. I'm going to expand. You can do a border, you can make it smooth, you can expand it, you can contract it, and you can make a feather. So let's expand. And I'm going to expand by like 1 pixel, not very much. Now that it's expanded, I want to fill in that extra area into this. So I need to get the default colors, so press D as in dog on the keyboard, and then you get black in the foreground color box, and then you're going to do Option, Delete to fill. You can also do Edit and Fill. That works too. This is asking you what color do you want to fill with. Let's fill with the foreground color, which is black, and that looks okay. Now I'm going to deselect, select, deselect, Command or Control D, and you can see how that got a little bit darker from how it was previously. Let's go on to the next step, which is maybe I want to flip it horizontally or vertically. So maybe I want the dog to go that way. So you need to make sure that the layer that you want flipped needs to be selected, otherwise it's not going to work. So edit, transform, flip horizontal or flip vertical. So edit, there's a difference between transform and free transform. So let's go into transform, and I want to flip it vertically. So now the dog is facing that way. I can also flip vertical, so now it's upside down. I could rotate it. I could do a 180. I could, I'm not going to get into these right now, but this allows you to flip one way or another. Now let's make some duplications. A very quick way to make a duplication is to get your move tool. And what we're going to do is press Option or Alt on a PC and look at how the arrows turn from one black arrow to a black and a white arrow. Now I still have my finger on Option, and I'm just going to click and drag, and don't let go of Option until you let go of the mouse. And now you have a copy. So that's a really fast way to get a copy of a layer without having to really do that much. Another quick way is to press, we know, right? Edit, select all. This is the slow way. Edit, copy, and edit, paste. That's the very slow way. One key command, shortcut key, that consolidates all those three things is Command J. That makes a copy, and it also pastes it exactly where it was before. Okay, now that I have this copy, I can go ahead, edit, free transform, and I'm going from the corner, and I could actually just take, if you go from the corners here, you can rotate. I could press enter, so maybe I want to make a lot of these. Now, for whatever reason, say I want to merge all these together. So let's take one. I'm going to press Shift and click. Shift click to select multiple, and now let's right click, and we're going to merge all of those together. Now if I copy those, it's much faster, right? Now what we're going to do is let's look at changing the opacity of the layer. So over here, I have three layers that I'm working on, and maybe I want these two layers to be less dark, less opaque than, let's call this one Big Dog. So if you go up to opacity, you can bring this down, and you can see it's a little bit lighter. So I'll do the same for the bottom. Now let's look at inverting with the black and white cookie. In your gray, you can use a white line work on gray or a black line work on gray. So let's just look at what this looks like if it's inverted. I'm going to go to this black and white cookie, which is also called an adjustment layer, and we're just going to press invert. And now I can see how the white looks on the black. And you'll notice that this comes in as its own layer, and this is affecting everything below it. So I can hide and show it. I could delete it if I press the little trash can. I'm going to move it down, and what if I only want it to affect not the big dog, but these dogs, right? So you can see how whatever's on top is not being turned to black. And I'm changing the opacity so that you can see that. So what you might want to do is also attach. So if you press Option or Alt on a PC, you're going to notice that if you put your mouse right here, we have this little box with an arrow, and if I click, now this is only affecting the big dog. So let's change that and let's put it up here, so that now, even though this big dog, and then let's call this small dog, even though these two layers are underneath my adjustment layer, they are not being affected because this adjustment layer is only attached here to this layer there. So that might help you a little bit. That's one way to change the line color. The other way is just to physically go ahead and fill those pixels with white or black. So this is a non-destructive way, and this allows you to change your mind, to delete it, to decide that you want to affect only certain layers or all of the layers, depending on the attachment or not attachment. Let's go ahead and change this dog to a white line using a destructive method by filling in the line pixels with a white color. So we're going to do the same thing as before. Press Command or Control on a PC, click on the thumbnail area of your layer. Now it's selected. Now we're going to fill, so you can just go to Edit and Fill, and we want to fill with the foreground color, the background, right? This is foreground, it's in front. This is background, it's in the back. So we want white, which is in this box, and we're going to say OK. Now let's deselect, select, deselect. That looks a little strange to me. So it's on multiply. So just make sure, right? Is it on this is called a layer mode. So if it's set to something else, these are going to blend differently with the gray color. So you'll notice that as I go through, each layer mode is blending differently with this background color. So let's just set it to normal because I don't need anything fancy now. And from here, now that you know all of these things, you can quickly begin to really collage and use copying, right? Maybe I want all of this to merge into one. And I can also bring in other parts to collage. I can take these two guys, lasso, select, edit, copy. Let's go to my source file and let's paste that in. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. Maybe I want this to be white. So I'm going to select it. I'm just going to modify expand a little bit. Let's expand by 3 this time. And I'm just going to do a quick fill with a white from the foreground color box. Shortcut key for fill is Option or Alt on a PC and delete or backspace. Now I need to deselect, select, and let's deselect there. And I'm going to take the move tool and I'm just going to move it to where I want it to go. So that's how you can kind of bring in certain layers, certain files from other documents, copy them in, duplicate them, change the opacity, change the color of the line, transform, flip vertical, flip horizontal, resize, free transform, and also using invert to also change the color of the line.